Good afternoon, Karen. Nice to have you back. I'm not hearing you. You got to unmute your mic. Yeah. Good.
I'm always happy to be with you and your team. Ruben, who's gotten very quiet. He doesn't even send me little messages anymore. He can send me messages. I won't read them out. Ruben, David, of course, and Richard,
Well,
who will, I'm
Richard
sure,
will be
join us
joining us.
shortly.
He is
Huh?
at a meeting right now, so he said that you can
Yeah.
carry on the program. He'll join you as soon as the meeting is done.
I mean, you and I are co-hosts then, because you do a very good job of it, I have to say.
Oh boy. I don't think
Not to say that it's any better than Mr.
Noray.
Richard Noray, but we would have to say that if he has to have someone to replace him, you are a good and worthy replacement.
Well, I thank you so much.
And you're more than welcome. I hear any steel band. That's from yesterday, huh?
Yes, that's the semifinals performance of BP Renegades. They are leading the pack.
Leading the pack.
Yeah, they're heading into the grand final set for Carnival Saturday evening.
Right. Well, my I don't know if I told you, but my husband was, oh my God, a steel band. I don't know what he would, because I don't think there's the word. Huh?
Aficionado.
No, more than that. That is too weak a word.
Yeah.
No. You can't begin to capture him. He at one year he played with three pan sides. He played with behind the bridge space from Nelson Street. So he played with them. That's what I understood. That's before I met him. And he played with Starlift.
Yeah.
And then he played with another band. So he played with three bands 1 year. I mean, he just went into another world. I got to understand the love of Pan from my deceased husband.
Yeah.
I mean, his love of Pan, and I think I shared this with you all already. But just in case I did not.
Yeah.
I would be secretly. He would be the Forzatas who he started playing with, because we were living in the East now. So he wasn't really big. Although I think he was still playing with one of the bands in town. And he just didn't let me know. Right? No, I'm seeing you laughing. It's serious, right? But the one that I did know about was Forzata, which was like a family band, I have to say. They did a lot of good work with Feel with Panton.
Yes, I know.
And to his right, and his friend Bunny Alexander, who's also from Nelson Street, died of a heart attack very suddenly at a young age.
Yeah.
They were very good friends, and they would do this every month. Anyway, the point was that he would be, I mean, I was a Pan widow during that period of time. And it would go on for an extended period. So secretly, I know that's a terrible thing for me to say, but I think I told you all that when they didn't make it, when they didn't make it to the finals, I put on the right expression on my face, but secretly I was happy. But I think I also said to you, having done that, I understood his love of Pan. I did understand it. So the year that he died, his daughter, our daughter, I had her play with Forzata that year. And they had a nice costume. I still have it. I have it in her. I've kept it as a memento.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful costume, actually. And she played with Forzata. So she would drive down the hill and go and play, because it was opposite Massey stores.
Yeah.
And she would play every day in honor of her father. And would you believe that year the band came first? Would you believe that?
Yeah.
The band came first. It was as if, I don't know, a message from above or whatever, that all is working. And his daughter was there on the, playing alongside the band in honor of her father. So as much as I might have felt like as a Pan widow, I respected his love of Pan.
Yes.
I respected it very, very much, and I honored it too, I think.
That was nice, because Pan does that to people who are really into it. I'm not a player or anything, but I love it really, really bad too.
Yeah, my son is like that too. To
Mhm.
me, he went out yesterday. He said, "Oh God, mommy, this thing pan real sweet, man. There's
Yeah.
nothing sweeter than pan." Oh, I mean, going on and
Right.
on. So I understand how people feel, but just that they
Mhm.
just stars for a few months and then what happens, Anyway, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I thought maybe, I don't know what you had in mind, but I sort of prepared today to speak about the ongoing issue with the malicious prosecution case with
Oh,
Vindra Naipul Coolman.
yeah.
I don't know if we discussed this on this show at all, no?
No, I think we just touch it slightly, and but it wasn't in detail.
Yeah, because I do another show, and I think I went into more detail with them.
Oh, okay.
And what I started by doing was just to give the background to where it reached, the way it reached. But the most important part,
Hmm.
which is where is what are the factors that the court looks at in determining whether you should succeed or could succeed on a malicious prosecution case.
Hmm.
So the first thing, as we all know, I think, that in 2006, um, Vindra Naipol Coolman was kidnapped and murdered. Well, they never found her body. And it was only in 2014 to 2016 that murder trial and kidnapping and murder trial was held before Justice Malcolm Holdip. And as we know, it is not for the judge to determine guilt or innocence. It's by a jury. They
Yeah.
can do the sentencing part
Yeah.
within clearly defined parameters. And of the 12 accused, 9 were acquitted, one of them on a no case but submission, which means they had no case against him. It was that bad. It was
Hmm.
just no case against. Of the 9 that were
Yeah.
acquitted, one was no case submission. The court upheld that there was no case against him.
Hmm.
And one had escaped police custody and died, and 2 of them are standing retrial. So I think that deals with all 12. So I think what did happen is that when the trial ended in 2016, they had 4 years within which, if they wanted to, bring civil action. Because remember, they are acquitted. I think people in all due respect, people believe acting as though they're still criminals.
Yeah.
The people are doing as though they're letting criminals get away, and they're not. They have been acquitted.
Hmm.
Whatever evidence was brought against them, unless you were in the trial every single day, you
Yeah.
were a lawyer, or you were there to say something differently. The
Hmm.
point of the matter was that 9 of them were acquitted, and
Yeah.
that is it. And if
Hmm.
you're acquitted, you no longer are an accused, you're a free man.
Right.
Okay? But a lot of damage would have been done to you in
Hmm.
those 9 years, which the master Martha Alexander spoke to in detail.
Hmm.
I mean, what they went through in the jail.
Yeah.
Now, people are getting on as though somehow it's good. So what if they went through that? They were not, but they were found not guilty.
That's right.
So stop. This is the part that boggles my mind. It's as if they are still guilty,
Hmm.
and in fact, you're presumed innocent unless proven guilty.
Yeah.
And they have been acquitted. So that was the end of the criminal trial and the criminal part, where they would have been the accused and the state would have prosecuted the matter.
Hmm.
Then it came now to the decision they could make. Some of them, many other persons who have been acquitted, do not take this step, but they must have gotten legal advice from, Anand Ramlugan represented them, and they waited to the very last day in which they would be able to file a civil matter. So you're no longer in the criminal arena. There's no longer the prosecution. There's no longer the DPP. There's no longer the police and all that. That's no longer there. This is now a civil trial in
Yeah.
the civil courts. And you are then saying to the court that you maliciously prosecuted me. You destroyed my life for 9 years.
Yeah.
For 9 years, I was locked up under the most inhumane conditions. When you read what the master said, it was inhumane, almost inhumane conditions. You were paraded every day in front of the media with all the handcuffs and the chains and all of that every day in the papers. So the point is that public opinion was definitely against you. So if the jury was going to find anything, they would have been more tending towards finding them guilty based on the pretrial publicity and the way in which they were, the way in which one looked at them from how the media was reporting, and the photographs which tell a picture speaks 1,000 words. So if you had to just use that alone, you already decided you were guilty.
Yeah.
And yet they were acquitted. So it just tells you maybe they really weren't guilty after all. But the point is that they waited till the very last day, that 4 years. And on the last day of the 4 years, they filed in the civil courts application for compensation, which is, of course, damages, money, for malicious prosecution.
Mm.
And they did that in 2020 because 2016 is when the trial ended.
Yeah.
So I think they filed their application for malicious prosecution, I think in May 2020 or something like that. Anyway, on the very last day. Now, the thing about it is that just to giving the background, is that what people have to understand is that what are the elements that make up a successful challenge or claim of malicious prosecution? What are the elements that you must satisfy the court? In this case, they were not even put to the test because, as we know, the state did not even appear. But on the assumption they had appeared and should have appeared, which is what we could speak about, is 4 things are required. And the last 2 of the 4 are the most important. The first thing is that you have to be prosecuted in a criminal charge. It must be a criminal charge before a competent tribunal, which in our case would be our assizes, our courts. And that happened. The second thing that's required is that it would have terminated in your favor, which means you would have been acquitted, which is what happened in their case. But the 2 things that are absolutely critical to success, and that is where once you've done those 2 parts, that's not taking you home at all. What takes you home is this. Number 2 points: absence of reasonable and probable cause for instituting proceedings, and that the claimant suffered damages as a result. Now, when they say an absence of reasonable and probable cause, there's case upon case upon case upon case that tells you what they mean by unreasonable cause. And it doesn't mean that you have to actually believe in their guilt. What you have to have, maybe have an honest belief, but it must be a reasonable one. And what would make it reasonable, the definitions in a lot of the cases, I mean, there's so many of our own local cases that deal with that, is whether the circumstances have proven malice, spite, ill will, improper motive, lack of honest belief on behalf of the arresting officers in initiating proceedings. In this case, it would have been the DPP. And the honest and reasonable means this. Reasonable is if you took these like circumstances and you presented it to let's say the man in the street, not really the man, it's the reasonable person, because at all, but this so-called fictitious reasonable person, and you gave him the facts that you know, and you told them that these are the facts that the police used in order to arrest these men and charge them for kidnapping and murder. Would you, if you were put in that like circumstances as the police officers were, would you also have felt that they should have been charged with the 2 crimes? Not that they would not get away or be acquitted, but was it reasonable for them, given the facts that they would have had in their possession, if you were put in the position of the police officers with the information that they had, would you have come to the same conclusion that there was enough there, as the lawyers like to say, enough there, that you would have said, well, I think there's enough there to charge them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is that you can pass that test of reasonableness, as I said, and you can show that someone else put in your position would have done the same thing, you're not going to win your case. Because you have to show malice. You hear the word? It's not just prosecute. It has to be malicious prosecution. And malicious prosecution is improper motive, malice, spite, ill will, a lack of honest belief. These are the things that have to be present, so that if the police officers arrested these 12 gentlemen and 9 of them have been acquitted, at the time of their being charged, based on the information that they had witnessed, whatever, however they acquire the information, which I do not know myself, but however they acquired all that information, would someone have said, well, it looks like these guys should be charged, and let the court system determine their guilt or innocence? So I think people have to bear that in mind. That's one thing I think people have to one has to understand. So the question, therefore, one might want to ask is, if that standard of proving malicious prosecution is so high, you have to show ill will, spite, that type of thing. If the standard of proving malicious prosecution on behalf of the state is so high, then you ask yourself, even if they have been acquitted, would they have succeeded? See, that's the $1 million, that's the $21 million question. Okay, so that is the whole what I will call the conundrum that one finds oneself in, if it is that maybe based on, I am just assuming, the state will exchange documents between themselves, I don't know. And maybe when they went to the charging, when they took them down to the police station, the information that they used, was it, was any of it manufactured? I don't know. Was any of it not credible, but they were so intent on charging these men because they wanted to charge somebody. And these guys certainly were not angels from all that you could read. And they made up their mind that they were going to be charged. And the question may have come up is that when you look at all of that, maybe when you looked at it objectively, maybe someone might say they may have tried to manufacture a case or strengthen a case against them so that they could charge them. We don't know. I do not know. But it is worrisome that it reached that point. So I would just say this, to round out on that point, is that the malicious prosecution is not because you get acquitted of a crime means that you're going to succeed in a civil court, because you are no longer an accused. You're a free man.
Yeah.
You and in fact, it's unfair to you. And that is what Martha Alexander Master said. She said they are going to carry that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Where are they getting good jobs? Where are they getting jobs? They are marked men for the rest of their lives. Some of them suffer from PTSD, living under those conditions for 9 years of their youth, regardless of what you think of them as people. They're human beings, parading them in the front of the full glare of the public, already coming to your conclusion that they were guilty. So, you have really kind of destroyed lives. So when people talk about the 21 million, they're doing as the largest payout. Yeah, it will be the largest payout if it was made to one person. That's the thing I don't like, Come on. don't say 21 million largest payout ever in history. It's not 21 million to one person. It was 2.1 million per person that came up to 21 million. So don't make it seem as though one person got 21 million. One person did not get 21 million. Each of them got 2.1 million for what they went through. And in fact, it's 2.1 because the magistrate added 100,000 to each of them for what you call aggravated damages, where she is showing that the circumstances were aggravated by the conditions and circumstances and so on. So I find it a bit disingenuous of the media. The largest payout in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Come on, it's 2.1 million per person. Is 9 accused. Oh my God. Don't do as though if one person got 21 million. It's not fair to them. Because you're making it seem as though they got to, each of them walked away. Somehow you're giving the impression that they walked away each with, I don't know what they're trying to, I don't know what the impression they're trying to give, but it's not a fair one. Instead of saying, giving the impression the largest payout, it's probably not the largest payout when you look at it per claimant. It's 2.1 million. What say you, David?
Well, I quite agree with what you said. I think what people are worried about now, well, a lot of people are looking at it, as you said, criminals set free and all kind of thing, you know. But the part that intrigues me is when the Attorney General spoke about the missing, you know, and
missing what?
The missing what? The missing file.
Oh, that. Okay, I was going to talk about that after, but I just wanted to deal with this part first.
Yeah, well, that part I quite agree with you, but there are a lot of people who don't. A lot of people think, well, you know, these guys are guilty, and they should.
But they're not. How would you like it if your brother or your sister had been put in jail for 9 years and in the most horrendous circumstances? Yeah. And as I said, you know. If anything, according to your goodly Dr. Rowley, the reason why he's not pursuing, he gave as his reason how many eons ago for not pursuing or not releasing the self-financial report was the pre-trial publicity. Remember that was the reason?
Yes.
How people had already made up their minds about these people's guilt and innocence and they wouldn't get a fair trial.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they got a fair trial. They got a fair trial when they were paraded. I mean, she said that in her own judgment. Not me saying that. She said that.
Yeah. I quite
talked about that.
I quite agree.
So yes, and stop treating them. This is the media, and you know where the unfairness is. You see where the media is a dangerous thing in truth. You know.
I know.
And they want to destroy you. They're going to destroy you. You know. Because if they were trying to be fair, why don't they interview some of those guys?
Yeah.
So let's get a balance. But you see, they don't want the balance because they don't want any sympathy for them.
Yeah.
And so people continue to treat them as though they are criminals, as if they still accused of the murder, although they have been acquitted. And they are continuing to treat them that way. Why don't you interview them and hear it from their point of view? Because you do not want, in my respectful opinion, for there to be any sense of empathy for what they went through. Why don't you want to hear their side of it? You're only pushing one side.
But the people who are saying that too, if it had happened to them, they would not be saying that either.
Yeah, this is it. And what I'm saying is they have been acquitted. And if anybody stood a risk of not being acquitted, it was those men.
Yeah.
Because the pre-publicity, the way in which in the court of public opinion, they were already guilty. For them to have been acquitted, it means the evidence did not stand up to the charges against them.
Yeah.
And what I am saying is, let the media interview them. Why won't they interview one or two of them and ask them about their experience and how they were treated? Why won't you do that? Because if you did that, it would swing the pendulum somewhat in favor of empathy for these men. I'm not their advocate, you know. But I
Yes.
don't like unfairness.
I know.
I don't like unfairness. I don't like unfairness. And I think the media is deliberately doing that. And they have been acquitted.
Mm-hmm.
They went with the malicious prosecution, and one could argue that they may not have succeeded based on what is required to show malicious prosecution, because it's not because I prosecuted you, you could once you will succeed. Not at all.
Yeah.
You have to show, as I said, ill will, etc., etc. That's kind of hard to be able to succeed in doing that.
Yeah.
And from what I read in one of the journalists, I may not call her name, but one of the most respected journalists in Trinidad, she gave a detailed breakdown of every single step in the matter, right from the beginning to the end. And what I did not know was in the very early days in 2012, two of the young men, before they even had the trial, were freed, and they brought a malicious prosecution case against the state, and they did not win.
Right.
I do not know what the circumstances were.
Mm-hmm.
They did not stand trial. They did not, they did not go through all of that. But that is something I was not aware of. But I think what I think I wanted to say is I am not advocating for them. I don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly not advocating for criminals. But what I am saying is let there be balance.
Yeah.
And let there be fair play. And just you have it comes across from me sitting on, well, having been in a public space for so long and still am, you understand how the media operates. And they can, if they want, destroy you.
Yes.
You're already destroyed. And stop saying 21 million the highest. Come off of that. It's 9 people.
Right.
We're making it sound like if one person got all that money. So that in itself is dishonest. The highest award in the history of trying to be. That is not the highest award when it's 9 people.
That's right.
They are separate claimants. And to put that headline and keep on repeating that when you very well know that is misleading.
Yeah.
But what bothered me the most, of course, well, this is really 2 points. I mean, I don't know what you think, David. Let me hear what your view is about the disappearing file.
well, when I heard about that, I said, well, how come that could have happened where it was placed, where it was appeared to be the most secured place to put this file, it disappeared. Well, there must be a paper trail, as they say, that will say who brought it, who received it, who signed it up as receipt, and where they put it. Now, if it was put in some place that was a place that made it available for idle hands, if I should use that word, to interfere with it, I could understand that. But I mean, if it's placed in a place where it is supposed to be secured, there must be some sort of a accountability for the person, from the person who brought it, who sent it, who carried it, who took it, who received it, and who stored it. For it to go missing, for it to go missing there and then, it leaves so many questions to be answered. And then at the end of the judgment that was made public, where these guys are to receive in parts, the 21 million or plus or whatever, then the file appeared, and I said, this is the file that went missing. Well, I want to know how come it was found so easily, and at the time it was found too, I found it, I said, what is going on here? Like people are playing games with people's lives and putting skepticism to the public at large as to what is really going on. So that's my take where that file thing is concerned.
Okay, so one of the journalists, I said, she did a very detailed breakdown of the dates.
Mm-hmm.
And in any event, now we live in the world of electronic filing.
Yes.
So even if you hard copy, which would require your signature and so on, you would have been able and probably would have gotten an electronic copy sent to you. Or if
Yes.
it had not been sent to you, you would have then requested the electronic copy immediately when you couldn't find the file. But what, according to the dates that were provided, May the 29th, 2020. No, there's a separate point I want to make after I just put this. And then I think the dates I'm giving you should give you an indication of what I'm indicating. The one of the newspapers say Olmas at the AG's office, and another statement, another article, which was editorial, misstep after misstep. Well, it's the misstep after misstep which took my attention the most. But before I go into that, I did look at what the breakdown of the facts, and it was done in great, I mean, to such detail that I stopped writing down the details. It was so much detail.
Yeah.
May 29, 2020, the statement of case was filed May 29, 2020, and served on an attorney at the Solicitor General Department who signed as having received it. In the note, in the article, it gave the name. I just didn't write down the name.
Yeah.
But the person's name was given as having received the file. And then on June 22nd, 2020, a true copy of the statement of case and claim form dated May 29 was served. And then June 23rd, the file disappeared. And literally a day after.
Right.
Literally a day after.
Yeah.
So when that happened a day after, you're not going to tell me a day after you're not going to notice the file is missing. Yeah. A day after and ask for another copy. So you knew you had it. And you knew it was a matter. It wasn't that you were unaware of this, because you can't be, because that's the whole legal system. You can't go forward with a matter without giving the other side notice of proceedings so they have an opportunity to respond and put in a defense or whatever it is. Yeah. That is natural, that is the norm. So the June 23rd, the file disappeared. On August the 5th, 2020, I think Anand Mugan was the lead lawyer in it.
Yeah.
He filed a notice of application for permission to enter the full judgment. That's on August the 5th, 2020. I hope you're listening to the dates, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Hope you're listening to the dates, especially what I want you to listen to mostly is the years. August the 5th, 2020. Filed notice of application, permission to enter a default judgment. On November the 12th, 2020, a fixed date for hearing was served on the Solicitor General. And on November the 18th, for the hearing of the application for default judgment. On November the 18th, a second notice was served on the defendant, which is the Attorney General, that of informing the Attorney General, Solicitor General's Department, that the default judgment application, default in defense, putting in defense, was going to be heard by Justice Joan Charles. On January 8th, 2021, the default judgment was heard by Justice Joan Charles on January 8th. And what she said in her judgment, in her, what you call her, upon reading the affidavit, the order of the court. So you have the order of the court. And then reading the order of the court, she said, upon reading the notice of application, upon reading of the claimants, and she says, and the defendant, Attorney General, not appearing or being unrepresented in the judgment in default, she gave judgment in default in favor of the claimants, who were the 9 acquitted gentlemen.
Yeah.
And then, so they got ample opportunity to be there to file a defense, because when they did not enter an appearance, as the writer of the article, who's well informed on the law, So Bolo says even if you don't enter an appearance, you can alternatively you have 42 days to file a defense
Yeah.
instead. And they did not file a defense. And it wasn't that they didn't know, because on the 22nd of June,
Yeah.
the state was actually served with the documents. It was signed off by whoever from the Solicitor General's department, and the second day after, the file disappeared.
Yeah.
And then when they had all these applications for permission to get judgment in default of defense, because no defense was entered, they still gave them time. November 12, 2020, the judge set it down for fixed date hearing, and again served the Solicitor General, which is the AG's department, and informing them of the intention to hear this application for judgment in default of defense. And she did it twice. November the 18th again, sent a second notice to the Solicitor General's department, advising them that she was going to hear this application for default judgment. Twice she gave them a chance to come. And on January 8th, when she heard it, and in her order, she said, well, nobody came, nobody appeared, so I have to enter the default judgment because there's no defense put in, nobody representing the state. How could that possibly happen? So then we go now, then took on the second stage, which is once they got the judgment in default of defense, meaning that the state never even put in a defense.
Yeah.
And every time they were given a chance to come and argue against it. And according to Amor, General Amor, AG, he says they had a very good case. He says they had a very good case. And had they gone, they would have been, according to him, everybody could see that they would have been successful. Say what? But then after you go through that stage, Joan Charles, Justice Joan Charles, she made the order in favor of the claimants. I'm saying, and the reason was not because they had succeeded in convincing her that this was a case that there was no malicious prosecution. It never came to that. It came to it, you didn't defend. You got a chance to put in a defense. How many times you got a chance? You didn't ask for an extension of time. So I'm giving them judgment in default of defense because you obviously don't feel you could defend this matter. She gave her no other choice but to do that, because they couldn't say they didn't know. They couldn't say they weren't told. They couldn't say they didn't have notification. They had all the notification. And yet they didn't come. They didn't put in a defense.
Yeah.
They got all the chances to come before the court. Even up to the hearing. She put it off for another date and served them again. And it still didn't come. So the decision, let me just be clear, is not that the court came to their decision based on the fact that the claimants were able to prove malicious prosecution, because that was never ever, it was never ventilated. It was never argued in the court. It never happened because the Attorney General's office never put in a defense. And since they never put in a defense, the court didn't have to look at whether there was malicious prosecution or not, or whether they were succeed or not. You didn't put in a defense, you get judgment in default. Yes. And they had to know that. And that's when the next stage came in 2021, March 9, 2021, and then July 2021, and July 2020, which is now to assess the quantum of damages that they incur, because Justice Joan Charles did not assess the damages. She just found that they were entitled to judgment in default of defense, and she made the order in their favor. The question of the quantum of damages was left to the master of the court, Martha Alexander. And Martha Alexander obviously heard all what they went through for those 9 years.
Yeah.
And she found, she awarded each of them 2.1 million. And that was it. Now, what the point I wanted to make is until the very, very end. I actually went and looked it up. I said, but when did Reginald Amor become the Attorney General? March 2022. So all of this, it came under Faris.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Faris Al-Rawi is the one to come and stand up with Reginald Amor and explain to the court everything that I said, because everything I said happened before Reginald Amor was there.
That's
They're
right.
making Reginald Amor the fall guy, and I don't know why he's taking it, but I know politics good enough. I know politics good enough. I know it good enough, and I don't know if he have. I don't know. I do not know. But I would not be surprised if he's having great regrets about taking a position of Attorney General. Because the person who should have been standing up with him and answering the questions, and then he take over with the answer, is Faris Al-Rawi.
Yes.
That is the person. It is under him that all of this happened.
Yeah.
Everything happened under him. All of it happened under him. Even when he reached assessment of damages, it was in March 2021, July 2021. Reggie Amor was not AG until March 2022. So even when it reached assessment of damages stage, where I think they did put in, I think when Reggie Amor took over, I think he got them to go in there and put in some kind of defense to reduce the quantum to 1.2 million. But before that, why didn't they have Faris Al-Rawi in that press conference? Right. If I was AG, I would live. I telling you from behind the scenes. I telling you straight up, I would have been fuming mad, and I would have said the person to come and stand up there and explain all of this. I was in private practice all of that. I said the person to explain all of this is that Attorney General, because every misstep happened under him.
That's right.
And why wasn't he made to stand up there? Why you put all of it on Reggie Amor? I found that very worrying. I don't know how he feels, but I wouldn't be having a good feeling, and I feel almost like I set up.
Yeah.
And the other reason, I feel like it should feel set up, because from my own experience, I've been set up. I have been set up by my own colleagues, so I know what I'm talking about. And by the way, those are colleagues, at least one of which is in this government. Set me up.
Yeah.
Set me up. So don't think they don't set you up. They set you up, and you have to shut up.
Yeah. But how come that fight could have gone missing, Karen?
I don't know how it got missing. What I'm saying is, why didn't Faris Al-Rawi, like, they frightened to get rid of him? Because if he had to come and explain, he supposed to go a long time. Like, they're protecting him.
Yes.
That is what it is. This is politics. This is politics going on here. They want you to go down that road. They want you to go down that road. You don't understand. They want you to. First of all, they can't go and attack the police, and they can't attack the jury.
Yeah.
They cannot do that. Right? They can't do that. There's autrefois, whatever it is. Once acquitted, you can't stand trial for the same thing twice. They can't go to the DPP and their sizes and the I think who was the judge in that matter, Moholdip and all of that. They can't go attacking them. They can't go attacking the judiciary. So who are they going to attack? They all of this Faris Al-Rawi should have stood up there, and he is the one to explain. He is the one to explain. But they don't put him to explain. They put, I can't believe Reggie Amor went there. Maybe I don't know enough, but I can't believe Reggie Amor went there willingly. I don't know why I feel he must be telling himself, what the never same am I doing here? Because one of the articles, misstep after misstep, I went back and read it to make sure I didn't mislead it, misunderstand it. This is an editorial, For the entire editorial, not once was the name of Faris Al-Rawi brought up. The only name was Amor. You would have swear Amor was there in 2014, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21. He wasn't there.
That's right.
You know who was there? Faris Al-Rawi. Let him go in front of the media and explain. And if they had put him there to explain, that would have been the end of his career, because the government would have not a choice but to let him go this time. They didn't
Yeah.
want to let him go before, but that whole bacchanal with Ian McIntyre,
Yeah.
telling Ian McIntyre, you have to prepare my bill. Like he don't understand it has to go through a process,
Yeah.
and come there to say he going and report him to the Judicial Legal Service Commission. And the Prime Minister, no, that was a no-go. He was going to lose. I wrote an article on it, and I went into detail of what the law is. So
Yeah.
whoever was supposed to have done the opinion on it, I never saw the opinion, because I gave an opinion, and I never saw anybody say that what I said was wrong. So I assume my opinion, which was written in the papers, for which I was not paid, but I do it because of my sense of, my duty to my country. I noticed that they always going and calling somebody to look at it. Rolston Nelson, and who's the other one? Rolston Nelson and Stanley John. Wasting people money. Wasting people money. Let him come and stand up and explain. Let him stand up and explain. Because in that misstep after misstep, you know what they talked about in the whole article? Only about Reggie Moore and how and the thing in Miami, how he could not appear for the state in the Miami matter, because he had represented one of the defendants, and now he was prosecuted as part of the state, and that he was dishonest and so on. And that's all they spoke about was Reggie Moore and Reggie Moore. Like if Reggie Moore was there in January 2021, as if Reggie Moore was there in May 2020, as if Reggie Moore was there. Man, I gotta be so vexed if I was in that government, eh? I'd be so mad. I'd tell him I am not going on that stage without Faris.
That's
Let
right.
him explain it. But you see, they protecting Faris. I say they protect. That's my view as a politician.
Yes.
And I don't think I'm wrong about that. They're protecting him, because if they had put him up there to explain all of these things, all of this, which happened before Reggie Moore became AG in March 2022, he would have a very hard time explaining it. And that alone shows he's totally, again, you want to talk about incompetence? You delve into the case. And I was very unfair to put Reggie Moore to take that next. That's my view. I don't know how he took that, because I would make hell or high water. I don't know how he felt. So I don't have any inner, I don't seek any inner information from what's going on inside. But I'm speaking from my experience, and I know I was set up once. I was set up real sweet once. Like some of them who were right inside of there set me up real good. Right? So I know they could do that. And to have and they're protecting and they're protecting Faris, because Faris was the one that should have been in that conference. And then what's his name? Reggie could then take over from after March 2022, which apparently he tried to get the quantum of damages reduced to 1.2 million. So he did try something.
Yeah.
And what is the most worrying thing is that if you put together, according to what Reggie Moore was saying, that you under the Faris Al-Rawi put together some sort of secretariat. The idea behind it, which I've read that they say, does it have the authority to do that? But let's assume he did it with intention to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks, that things come to his attention. How that did not come to his attention? No, we can't believe you. We don't believe you. We do not believe you. Maybe the first they didn't know. The second, the third, no. The all them years you didn't know? No. You can't, anything pigs fly. It's possible in the realm of possibilities. But on the realm of probabilities, you knew. Now, why you didn't do something about it? I can't answer that part. But you're not going to tell me you didn't know. And if you didn't know, something is wrong with the system and you put in place, that a matter of such importance with this Vindra Naipaul Coolman. I mean, that was huge news in the country.
Yes.
You are not going to tell me. You are not going to ask every now and again. So what's happening with the Coolman matter? Now, what's his name? Anaram Lugan is smart. He waited till the last day to file the application. Right? But that does not matter. You have a whole department, Solicitor General, you have a Solicitor General, you have Chief State Solicitor. You don't have a system in your organization where whether it's the SG or ever, you meet with them on a weekly basis to get an update on cases. You're going to tell me that? You're not going to tell me that. I am not going to believe that. And if you didn't, you're totally incompetent.
Yeah.
You are totally and completely incompetent. And if you are not totally and completely incompetent, yes, something sinister is wrong. And you should have been made to stand up on that stage and take the licks. You should have been the one to take the licks. And this newspaper, misstep after misstep. I look to see anywhere when they mention Faris. Not a word. I'm not joking, you know. Go and read it. It's called Misstep After Misstep.
Yeah.
They not once did they mention Faris Arawi, but they went back to tell you about Reggie Amor with the Piarco scandal, and this is the second thing that he has done. They could tell you why they don't tell you about Faris Arawi losing his position as Attorney General because he wrongfully wanted to get Ian McIntyre, who was the head of drafting, highly respected, to draft a bill because you tell him to do it. When the process is going through cabinet. You are not cabinet.
That's right.
Right? And want to come in the day, you have a letter to send. Why you don't talk about that? Why you don't have him stand up there? Why you only have Reggie to take the licks for him? It's his. It is him.
Yes.
All of this, all the assessments started in 2021. Why wasn't he made to come on that stage and explain? Because they're protecting him. And they're trying to deflect by having, I don't know how Reggie can do that. I mean, sorry, Mr. Moore, the Attorney General, sorry. I don't know how he can stomach this, you know. I don't know how you reach that stage in your life for them to be doing you that. I don't understand how I don't know. But if you're a willing participant, well, that says a lot. In my view, it says a lot. And if you are a reluctant participant, boy, you must be Rudy Day that you said you were going to be AG. But what is going on there? And trying to deflect it. So, you know how they did? Remember I told you the last time, they're going to deflect. I said, well, they can't bring in the police. So look how they're deflecting now. They're deflecting about something sinister. Like if they almost doing as if it had nothing to do with them. It's something else, some force outside of them. What nonsense is that? I worked in Chief State Solicitor for 5 years before I went to teach at the law school. So I worked in the state.
Yeah.
So, you know, I worked with the person who was the Solicitor General. We worked together when we came out to law school.
Yeah. So
what is it? You don't have a system that you go and meet with the AG every week or 2 weeks and give him an update of the matters that are pending and matters. Nobody? Huh?
That was very strict.
You know what? They should have asked him. But you see, they couldn't let him go to the interview because that's what they would have asked him. And he can't answer it. So they protected him because he should be out. The next place for him is out.
Yeah.
And they don't want to take him out. He should be out.
You think that's why they had moved him from being Attorney General, because he was losing a lot of cases outside of this very important one. I think this one is a real high profile case, you know, and he should have been made to really give an account of what happened.
Yes.
And nothing like that has happened since.
because they're protecting him, because he has no answer. Like why he wasn't made to face the media and explain. It's all of these things happen under him.
Yeah.
And by the way, when the decision was finally made for him to, because I wrote the article on it, and they then, as I told you, and they say they get given somebody to do an opinion on it, which I never saw the opinion. So I assume they accepted what I wrote, which was that he was bullying, nothing short of bullying, Ian McIntyre, highly respected all throughout the Caribbean as one of the top draftsmen. He worked with me actually when I was Minister of Finance, and there's a whole set of legislation that we needed to get through because we had a 3/5 majority, and we just simply did not have we didn't have enough staff to be able to deal with so much legislation. So the Governor General, not Governor General, so Central Bank Governor, with working with the IMF, and they help you out with getting drafting persons and so on. And we got Ian McIntyre, who had just done all the laws and legislation drafting for the BVI. So he was a big catch, right? And he was a big catch, and we were so glad to get him, and he was so professional. So when you put him there and you are bullying him, this is what happened. That's why he was moved. That was the final straw. When he was telling Ian McIntyre, you are to draft my bill. I gave you instructions, and Ian McIntyre and his whole staff completely supported him. And said, I cannot do that without a cabinet minute. It's a cabinet that gives me instructions, and it's on those instructions that I can now start to prepare the bill. He told him, no, I told you to do it. Yes. And then he came into the cabinet, so they are reported, with a letter to say that he was going to report him to Judicial Legal Service Commission for insubordination, only to be told, which I wrote about, going on the website of the parliamentary website, where they give you a step-by-step of what is involved in making producing a bill, and they tell you need a cabinet note, a cabinet bill. They tell you all this stuff. He didn't know that. So when he caused, that was so much embarrassment to the Prime Minister that he had to move him out fast. That's why that was the last straw, He showed his and bullying ways. And then you move him out to local government. And this mess, you leaving it for Reggie Moore to deal with. And I don't know, Reggie Moore, I don't know how he didn't say, I'm not doing it. I say, no, if I have to go on that stage, Mr. Faris Rory coming on that stage with me. But he had to explain. I can't explain. I wasn't around there. So he had to explain. He has to explain to the media what was the processes he had in place, why this didn't happen. Let him explain it. I cannot explain it. All I could explain is from March 2022. That's when I could start explaining.
Yeah.
And that is because they're protecting him. Because, my God, if he had to go in that press conference and they started to fire questions on him, he would not, even the Prime Minister couldn't protect him. Right? Well, I say even, well, maybe he would, because it must be very valuable to them.
Now that the AG said there are attempts to appeal the matter, you think it's going to bring him to the fore now?
Let's just talk, appeal the matter. What they're appealing, any court, well, they'll go to the Privy Council. You sit down there and have all this electronic notification and notification upon notification upon notification. What you appealing? What are you appealing? And then the 9 years those men spent in jail.
Yeah.
And all that. What you appealing? But you only have to say that to look as though, I don't know what you're trying to look at, to look as though what? What was he trying to do? I don't understand what he's trying to do. And then getting Wilson, Nelson, and Stanley John to do an investigation.
Isn't that going to complicate a lot of money also?
Exactly. But that is a go-to plan. They don't get, don't think, listen, this country is under a dictatorship. So everybody knows what they're doing is wrong. You'll be surprised. Sometimes when I speak to people who you think wouldn't know, and they come and tell you things, you say, wow, you mean everybody recognizes it, but they're afraid to talk.
Yeah.
You know, look, I saw something with this thing with the dictatorship. It's a dictatorship that's going on here, and they're controlling the media. They're controlling the print media. That's what I think. For sure. With that story with Reggie, they were out for Reggie. Either they're out for Reggie or deflecting from Faris, and or both. But for Reggie Moore to take that kind of licks, man, you have to have more pride in yourself than that. You're going to take your last how many years as a professional? You bigger than that. You can make money. You don't need to work in Trinidad.
That's right.
You understand? You don't need Trinidad money. Go up the islands. You're from Dominica. Go and work a lot of them do. A lot of them work in the other islands. Go and work in the other islands.
Yeah.
You don't need to be subjecting yourself to this kind of nonsense. But that's from what we know,
Yeah.
Okay? I always put a caveat to what I say based on what I know, because there are a lot of things I may not know. But to me, it's look like you're trying to protect Faris and make Reggie take the licks, because if Faris went on that stage, Faris went on that stage and he started firing shots and questions at him, he wouldn't survive.
Do you think there'll ever be a revelation as to where the file was, or where they found the file?
You know, one my honest opinion on that, I think it's important to know that. But without knowing where the file is, you could have gone to the registry and said, we can't find the file. Could you send us an electronic copy? That's not the end of it all. This is a different age. So let's suppose you couldn't find the file. Let's suppose somebody did that. That is just a red herring to get you to go down a certain path, to go down Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole.
Yeah.
To you to go down that rabbit hole and get caught up with that.
Yeah.
What they very well know is if the file was missing, all they had to do was ask you can't seem to locate the file. Could you kindly send an electronic copy? Or you could even ask the other side. That's how often happens in cases. You can ask them to send you a copy and talk done. You don't have to think. So all this thing about this sinister and all this using that language, it is all deliberate to make you go down a certain path, to start to get you away from the real issue and get you to go down a different path. And you mustn't fall for them. Because I don't. I understand I believe I understand what they're doing. And I believe that's why they like me so much. I think they love me. They love me so much.
Yes.
They love me so much because guess what? I don't want any consultancy from them. I don't ask them for anything. I do not want anything from them. And I am independent and they have nothing on me. I'm a very and guess what? I am too stupid. You know what I mean? And I'm not too stupid. And guess what? I served in the cabinet. So you can't tell me what you're talking about. You ever served in a cabinet? You know anything about cabinet? No, they can't say that about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't. They don't want to hear my voice because that's they know that I think all of this is they sat down and had a meeting.
Yeah.
And said, boy, how are we getting out of this? Okay, we're gonna use the word sinister, whatever I pronounce it. And make it about that. People will hook onto that word.
Well, wouldn't there be some sort of implication as to the people who received and probably had the responsibility of storing the file?
Yeah, but that's all part of what they're going to be doing, and hope you forget all about it. Do you understand? It's all theater.
Yes,
it's all theater.
Yeah.
Getting two people to go and look into this thing and spend a set of money for them to tell you what you know, and that is a set of theater. Why they don't tell you, give you a date by which the report must be given in? Huh? And why they don't tell you, Mr. Faris Al-Rawi say that even when the file was missing, why didn't you order an electronic copy? All is not lost. All is not lost. Order an electronic copy, or get a copy and make it into make a hard copy of it. You do. All is not lost.
Right.
So even if it went missing after a day, that is what difference. I mean, it makes a difference because it wants you to go down this Sherlock Holmes theory, and you get distracted.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what they want you to, because they have to sit down and think about this. And so if I were there and I thinking about it, I say, listen, you have to get these people off a Faris case, because he is about to be dismissed for good reason.
Yeah.
He should go. He definitely should go. But we can't make him go. So we ain't letting him go in no conference, because God, he's gonna make a bad situation worse. You know, and Faris Al-Rawi, I don't dislike you. You're one of my favorite students. Always polite, always gentlemanly. So just in case, people have to understand. And I taught your sister too, who's his twin. And I have nothing personal against you, but this is not about me liking anybody. This is about loving my country.
That's
okay?
Right. That's right.
So those of us who put country before friend, well, that's who I am. That's who I am. And that's why they would not like a person like me, because I am not beholden to any of them.
If that is to happen at the high office of the Attorney General, what implications does it have for us as Trimbigonians or the international lookers on as to the judicial way of handling things from the AG's office?
Well, the judicial, I mean, the AG is not the judiciary, right? Right.
Okay, I think I used the wrong word there. But
Yeah.
What I'm trying to ask is that how they're gonna, what kind of confidence will there be now in events like that, if it should occur again, or even in continuing to function as a, you know, because I can't understand how that could go missing in the Solicitors General.
They did a good job on you, David, because you only coming back to that same stupid point.
No. I understand. But okay. So okay, like you said, well, why? Okay, let me see if I can frame it a different way. I try to be
frame it a different way, because you're doing what they want you to do.
Yes,
you are falling into their plan. You will talk about that, and not talk about the incompetence and what Faris Al-Rawi had to have been doing that could have happened, and why is he still a minister in this government? That is the question to ask.
Yes, okay.
Not that other question.
Okay, is it because other things will be revealed that will put other people in hot waters? If Faris is to come forward and try to clarify the whole issue?
He might put himself in hot water. He might put himself in hot water. He might put himself in hot water. I don't know. That's what they want you to think, and that might be part of it. But I can't really, to be honest with you, I can't really speculate as to why. Now, I could say on one hand, and this is maybe thinking out completely outside the box for me to even say this.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it in a very, very cautiously. I'm saying it, and I am not saying it because I necessarily believe it to be true, but I am putting forward. When you have theories, right? So you look at theories as to why. Well, one of the things I already said, they put Reggie Moore to take the licks, because if Faris came in there, the Prime Minister could no longer save him. There's no ministry for him to go, but he cannot. For some reason, Faris has to stay in the government for reasons best known to all of us. We all know why. Okay, we all know why.
Yeah.
So he has to protect him from himself. So that's one thing. The other thing, though, is curiously enough, is this. what's his name? I shouldn't say it like that. I don't mean to any disrespect at all. At all. Israel Khan. I mean, Israel Khan is one of the top criminal lawyers in this country. No question about it. No question about it. I know he's known to be a little brash and all of that, but you can't beat him as a criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
He is at the top of the top, in my respectful opinion. Although he may not think I would say that, but I always try to be fair.
Yeah.
And he came out and said that he believed, from what he knows of it, that they would have won their case because they could show that it tested not only ill will, spite, and malice, but a lack of reasonableness, and that's a lower standard. And from what he was saying, if I understood him to be saying that he was saying that had they challenged the malicious prosecution matter, it more than likely the claimants would have succeeded. So sometimes I'm not saying this is what happened at all. I'm not saying this is what happened at all. But sometimes maybe we sit down there and say, what's the point of us going and challenging this application? These men have been acquitted. Yeah. Look at the evidence.
Yeah.
Look at what they have gone through. My God.
Yeah.
As maybe let us leave well alone and let them get a default judgment. Maybe letting a default judgment occur may sometimes be a strategic decision based on the fact that you don't want to waste resources of the state in a matter which you yourself feel that the persons are entitled to judgment in their favor. And you may very well say, let's not fight that part. We'll get involved when it comes to the assessment part. So we are not going to say they're not, because according to as I said, to Israel Khan, he was of the view that they had sufficient grounds to succeed in an application for malicious prosecution. That's what, if I understood him to be saying that.
Yeah.
So if Israel Khan was of that view, it means that perhaps members of the Solicitor General's Department may have come to that same opinion, that listen, we're not going to win with that. And it almost let them get a default judgment. Let's not fight it. Let them get through with that. And then when it comes to now dealing with the assessment, which is the money payment, we will then put in a fight, so to speak, to see how much you think they should get. That's one theory. I'm not saying at all it is true, because
I know
it doesn't seem to be the kind of thing this government would do. But that's one theory, that you can get a default judgment because you say it doesn't, they would win on the default judgment. And so let's fight them on the assessment of damages.
Yeah.
So that's one possibility. And the second possibility, which is what I've said it over and over again, is that they are protecting Faris Al-Rawi and making, what's his name? The AG, Reginald, I don't know the full guy. Because the next place for Faris Al-Rawi to go is out the government. Out. And the Prime Minister cannot let that happen. And we all know why. Yeah, we all know why. We won't say, but we all know why. Because we're living in a dictatorship now, And as I had started saying, that why I say we're living in a dictatorship. One, I noticed how the newspapers, just looking at how the newspapers are reporting matters. For example, I don't know if they spoke about the 80 million US cocaine fine in Jamaica on January 14th, which clearly was done with the assistance of Interpol, the US Foreign Food and Drug and something Enforcement Agency. They have set up an office at the garrison in Barbados called Interpol Impacts. And that was the latest. No, they never said it was Interpol involved, but I'm pretty certain it was their intelligence that forced the government to do what they had to do, and the Trigger 7. But Trinidad does not have that. So they don't want that. But coming back to the dictatorship, I think why doesn't the papers report these things about the Trigger 7 and about make it a big headline, or the 80 million US they found in cocaine in Barbados, in Jamaica. This is the work of Interpol Impacts that is doing that work. Why don't we do more work? We are signatory to that agreement, but I'm not too sure we are very much involved in it. And why I said we're in a dictatorship, which I went off on that tangent. Well, I will say who it is, because he put it in the he put it out there for people to read it. Errol Fabian. All Errol Fabian didn't do was he didn't say who it was. He just said it was a person who was his good friend for years, so he doesn't want to call the name of the person. But the person told him, you're not to say any anti-PNM song, eh? No anti-PNM song. He say, hear me, Errol? No anti-PNM song. So anti-PNM statement. So Errol said to him, according to what Errol Fabian said, he said, but how you could tell me to do that? I say, that's not who I am. I talk about what the issues are. How you can say that? He said, well, I'm telling you, you cannot sing or say anything that is against the government. And so Errol said, he told him, don't worry, I will keep my honey, you could keep your money, and I'll die with I will die with my my what? Dignity. You could keep your money, I will keep my honey. And I'll die with my dignity. So that's Errol Fabian published that. I'm not saying something out of things. So that's the way how far it's gone. They've gone into every aspect to tell people, and because they control everything. And who it is that they control, you figure out who is they control. They control everything. And therefore, you have to jump to there. They could easily say, listen, we're not sponsoring you, because we own everything in this country.
That's right.
So we own everything. So if you don't follow our thing, you'll see how much advertising you will get. Remember I told you all, I think it was on this station, when I was finally getting financial assistance in my challenge. Apparently they took me quite seriously, so I feel very honored. Feel very, very, very honored. It's one of those what you call left-handed compliments, but it's nevertheless it's a compliment. One of which I could do without. But when they found out who was one of the persons who was giving me financial assistance, they went in, somebody, let's put it this way, let us say it is a confluence of factors that seem very curiously coincidental. But when they found out, I'm saying that there was and the person had the money to do it and was helping me out in the campaign. I would just say that they went in his home in Trinidad. He doesn't live here, but he has a home in Trinidad. And they went in there and throw away everything in the house, throw out everything all over the place, but they don't steal one thing.
Oh my God.
I didn't tell you all that?
No, I can't remember you talking about that.
Yeah, that's to tell you what you're dealing with this government. That's what, and let them say I lied. I will tell them exactly where the house is and who it is. Just like I wanted to tell them who is the person that offered me the senatorship and why I didn't take it. Right. Okay. So don't tell me, no, I can't prove. It's very coincidental. Because that was a message, because they didn't steal anything. They didn't steal anything. They threw around everything, and one time the man pulled away. He done supporting me. But he got frightened. They frightened him off. Another one that was helping me, I will leave it very vague, very, very vague, but somebody who had the ability to help me. But like many of them, they depend on government contracts. And I am of the view that they spoke to him. And that was the end of that.
Right.
Yeah. So every avenue I had to get financial support for my campaign,
Yeah.
they found out who was going to help me and
Yeah.
they shut it down
Hmm.
because they knew I wasn't taking it from certain people. I told them that already. I said, if you bring those people to me, don't worry because they're not going to own me.
Yeah.
But everyone that was going to help me, about 3 or 4 people that were going to help me, every single one of them pulled out. Yeah, that's it. That's your government of democracy.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I even look at the media, and I understand when you look at who's in control now, of the major networks, the media networks, you are left wondering as to why you see certain things being highlighted in a big way, and the more important things that will be impacting on the lives of the ordinary people, you hardly see that, if you see any at all.
exactly. Very,
Yeah.
very much so. And
Yeah.
that is deliberate because what has what in my view, my respectful opinion, what has happened, I wrote an actually, but not an article, I wrote in a group thing that I belong to. And the discussion really was about all the potential revenues that we will get from the dragon field in the years to come, not immediately, but in the years to come,
Hmm.
that can make a significant impact on our revenue position, especially in the downstream industry and so on. The
Yeah.
question that someone asked was, who's going to benefit from it?
Yeah. I always wonder that.
Well, what I said in the two things I said, so maybe that could be a discussion another day, but two things I said. There's something called the Gini coefficient index. No, it's sounding very, very fancy. Yeah? It's
Hmm.
named after a man called Gini, Gini, Italian.
Hmm.
But what it is for your readers and for your listeners, sorry, if you just look at the what you call your gross domestic product, which is how much goods and services you produce in a particular fiscal year, it will be the fiscal year,
Yeah.
right? Which is our October to October, not year, not annual year.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's done. Um, if you look at that, and you will see because oil and gas prices and LNG have gone through the roof,
Yeah.
and now with this whole dragon feed thing, you could be talking, let's say, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So then, if you said to Trinidad about Trinidad, Trinidad has one of the highest GDPs in the Caribbean and in Latin America, and you would not be wrong
Hmm.
because that would be true. Then, if you go down a little further and say you go to do GDP per capita meaning per head.
Yeah.
So what you do is you take the 20 to say the $50 billion
Yeah.
and divide it by 1.4 million people.
Yeah.
You will see how much each person would get. And that's where they come up with saying, oh, we're still very high up there because it means that on average, um, GDP per capita in Trinidad maybe about $15,000
Yeah.
US a year, whatever it is. It's looking good.
Hmm.
But the real what you really want to look at,
Hmm.
what you really want to look at
Yeah.
is what they call the Gini coefficient, which the CSO used to publish until 1997. And what is Gini coefficient, which it says not perfect, it's not a perfect system, but it's
Hmm.
as good as it gets. What it does, it shows you the income distribution of that $50 billion.
Yeah.
It shows you how that really is distributed. And what you will find out in Trinidad, I'm positive about that,
Hmm.
is of that 50 billion, about 40 billion going in the hands of 2%, and the 10 billion going to the 90% of us.
Hmm.
That's what it is. That's what you want them to tell you. Don't tell them about the GDP. Don't tell them about the GDP per capita. I want to know what is the income distribution when that money that we making, that revenue making, who is benefiting from it? And the Gini coefficient will help you to understand that.
Yeah.
And
Because
when you see that using the Gini coefficient, that 40 billion going into 2% hands and 10 billion going to the rest of us, then you understand something is terribly wrong with how this country is being run. Because they themselves, meaning the government, says that they have adopted UNDP's Sustainable Development Goals. That was the 2020 and went to 2030. One of the major objectives of developing countries such as ours and small ones like ours is to close the income inequality gap. That's what a major thing is. How are you going to close the income inequality gap when every single thing is owned by them? Everything. You can't own anything, you know.
That's
Make
right.
a mistake and say you want to own something. They're going to own it, you know. And you can't compete, you know. You say you want to, anything you want to do, they're going to own it. Everything must be for them, you know.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister have no problem with that. He had no problem with that at all. He didn't see something wrong with the Prime Minister and his cohorts. That is no father to have at the head of the table. It's time for him to pack up his bags and go home. Because you cannot be showing you are destroying the country. And you and what you're doing is using that to shut down any protest because they own the station, they own every damn thing in this country. Everything they own. Everything they own.
A point of concern is that I worked in the oil industry and I tend to know how things unfold, whether I might not be within the economics of it. But if they are saying that, okay, Richard Quest said we are enjoying a windfall and a windfall and a windfall of these products. I mean, ammonia, urea, LNG, and all of that. It's making a lot of money now. That's the windfall he was talking about. When he spoke about that, there was no talk about this gas and the whole conversation that is going on now, including Venezuela and the US. I think that was long before that. And if we are not benefiting as the people on the ground from that, I don't know how on earth we're going to benefit from this one. That is not. We were made to believe too that it's a great. I mean, it is good probably for the country and stuff. But
which country? When is only 2% getting everything?
Yeah, well, we were made
and you can't even pay your groceries. You see people suffering in this country.
Yeah, because people were invited to believe, if I should put it like that going to happen now and we're going to benefit now. But that's going to take a long time. That is going to take a long time. You know, and if this is happening now with the LNG and the ammonia and stuff, and we are not getting anything or anything is happening to show where there's a sort of change in the way they distribute to the lower income people and how they will make things better. Things are getting worse, even though we are in this situation right now. So I can just imagine what will happen down the road when this whole gas thing gets to some kind of reality.
But to me, if I were in government, well, one of the things I'm dealing with is the crime, and it's certainly bringing the Americans. I don't care, bringing the Americans, bringing Interpol.
Yeah.
Let them clean it up. Let them clean it up. And all the voices who object, listen to who the voices are, because of course they will put their people in the front to take in. They hide it in the body, they puppet masters, and putting our people in front as the little, as if only feeling sorry for you. You don't feel sorry for you at all. They're using you to make it seem so anyway. But quite apart from that, the real issue is, what does it matter if the country's revenues are increased if it is not? You don't want to give people more CPEP and more URP and more social programs. You don't want to do that. You want to give them a chance to be businessmen. Why? And they cannot be, because these people have to own everything in this country. Everything is theirs. And your prime minister is allowing that. He's so shameful, it isn't funny. I saying that he's shameful. He could dislike me, you know. And I don't care if he doesn't like me. I gave him his pips with the dragon field. But I am telling you, there's something basically wrong with a man who can oversee a country and allow. I mean, where, one day he's 70 something years of age. One day you'll be nobody. They won't remember you. But guess when they write the history books, it will not be kind to you, Mr. Dr. Rowley. Because Dr. Rowley, the books will not be kind to you. They will not be, history will not be kind to you, because they will say that you oversaw the exploitation, the avarice, and the avarice of one tiny group of people, to the exception of the vast majority of the people who you chose to say you wanted to govern and govern. And you have not done that. And it is not by chance. And you have your little inner circle, all of who have to be recusing themselves every Monday, when they have cabinet Tuesday. Every Tuesday they have to recuse themselves. You know why you're recusing? Conflict of interest, right? Conflict of interest. And when you're going through the motions, you're going to tell me to leave the room, and they have Dr. Rowley sitting on there. They're not going to do what Dr. Rowley said to do. Give me a break. Give me a break. I could tell you that, Dr. Rowley, history will not be kind to you. You have to wait too long for you, because your days are numbered. Yes, your days are numbered. And when you sit down with your Whitehall to wherever hall you came from, and vanity projects and self-congratulations and looking for validation from these people who don't care, who, when you were a little boy, they wouldn't let you come through the back. They might not even let you come through the back door. Yeah, that is what is his problem. I analyze him. Everybody have a start there. I analyze him. I say, you know what? He is so needs their validation, needs them to say he's somebody. He needs to go in there to associate in there. That is so important to him, that he is willing not to take the vast majority of the Trinidadians and sacrifices at their altar. What kind of prime minister are you? I am telling you that when history books are written, you see that Whitehall to whatever hall you write there, take it and shred it up in pieces, because that's a vanity project. Just like how you try to erase every thing of the PNM in that PNM building selling raffles. The raffle. They should call it the Raffle House. I want them to call it the Raffle. Under it, PNM Raffle House. That other vanity project that you have there, when the history books are written about you, Dr. Rowley, they're not going to be kind, because the fear of you will be removed.
You think we'll ever get out of this?
He will be sitting in a wheelchair. He'll be sitting in a rocking chair, and he will find out where barley grow, and he will find out how hated he is. He knows he's hated, because all these statistics, I think, look at how he lose. I say he lost. Over you, 18,000 people voted for you in 2014, when they had 30,000 less members, and 10,000 less voted for you this time. Now, I'm not telling you something. They don't like you. They don't want you. But you're using, and you're going to find out when you're sitting down in that rocking chair and have to meet your maker. At least I don't know if you believe in God or don't. Maybe you do or don't. But if you by perchance believe in a higher power, and you have to answer to that higher power, you should be a very, very concerned individual, because it says a lot about who you are, that you were given an opportunity to do so much good, and all you did. Imagine he says, what's wrong with the wealthy getting wealthier? We'll do that on another show with the trickle-down theory of economics, which is insult to people. So he wants you to stay on your PNC so we can be constantly the servants. Is a form of a highfalutin slavery, because you can't live on that salary, so you have to do something to make up for it.
Yeah.
When he sit down in his old age, he old already, but when he sit down in his older age, and he sit down and see what he did to his own people as prime minister, you would hang your head in shame, as will your family, because history will not be kind to you.
We still have at least 2 more years to general elections. You think there'll be any change?
He's properly. I don't think he could get out of it. If you ask me, personally. Personally, I think he can't get out of the situation he finds himself in. I think maybe can't. He's caught himself in a situation where, you know,
No
I don't
turning
think
back.
he can't. Right, he can't turn back. But it's a sad thing. He's a sad man because even if you don't turn back, you don't have no right to decry. As somebody wrote an article, they said in places like Movan, Laventilla, which I taught a lot of students from those areas, by the way.
Yeah.
I taught a lot of them in law school, I'm talking about. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I met a young man and I was just asking him, I said, where are you from? Mover, right? He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And some of my best students came from those areas. So about 80% of the people living in those communities are hardworking. Their children have done very well. Most
Yeah.
of them go away and study.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing. They need to go and look when they're doing the statistical data. Don't worry to see who went to UE, because most of us don't go to UE. Okay, most of us send up our children to the States to go and do UE, and they don't come back home. So don't come and using UE to see whether we have ambition or don't have ambition. Stop trying to play those tricks on us.
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people whose children were sent away to study and they never came back.
But most of, let me tell you something. I had a friend. Well, let me just say, on the port, a person said to me, she said, Karen, you see all of them longshoremen and all of them secretaries and so on, you're watching them slide. Every single one of them, the children are educated, who are not doctored, then, but none of them living here. So when they want to do their data research, find out how many of the, don't worry about who went to UE, who not going to UE. You go and see how many of these people have their children are educated, a tertiary education, and many of them don't ever come back. Stop the nonsense, but you want to make us feel bad. That is what you're doing to yourself, boy. I mean, that is the kind of respect you have for yourself, that respect you have for them. My God, I telling you, you know, I mark my words, you know, David, when you see the history books written, he's going to get so much licks in them books. They're going to tell him like he didn't like himself at all. He did not like himself.
Would this create some sort of a destruction of the PNM?
Well, I think so. I think so. I think it is really. I think the PNM has reached a point where he has allowed, I don't want to go into any detail because I don't want to get myself in any trouble, but you have to know that I would observe and know things that I would observe. Observe, not anybody coming to me. I don't want anybody to think, anybody calling me on the phone and telling me anything. No. Yeah. But I follow what Mr. Pandey said, connect the dots. So I am very good at connecting dots, you know? And I think he has destroyed the PNM, yeah?
Yeah.
He has destroyed the PNM.
Oh, boy.
He has destroyed the PNM. So, you know, you might have to look at, if you want to save your country and make a difference, maybe he leaves you with no other choice.
Yeah.
That's where I think that's where we reach, because I don't think he has any intention. If he wanted to, he cannot. If he wanted to, he cannot. He gone too far, and for whatever reason, he cannot. Not only he cannot, but he has that, I mean, oh my God, that Minister of National Security. Yeah, I don't even want that. Why you don't bring in Interpol? Let Interpol clean it up. If I was in charge, Interpol was going to be in here, and I would like to hear who object. Those voices who objected, who's putting the ones in front of the object and writing the papers, and so on. I want to see who will object to that. But that's what I will do. I will let them come in here and clean it up. Let's see what will happen.
Yeah.
Let them clean it up. You have to break an egg before you make an omelette, you know. Right. And my last point before I leave is I always say, when I was in convent, St. Joseph Convent, of all the teachers that had the greatest impact on me, my entire education, and I've done other degrees all in the Caribbean, by the way, because I'm a real Caribbean person, and that is by choice. My father tried to send me off to England. He said, I begged him not to.
Yeah.
You know, he said, no, I'm staying here. I begged him.
Yeah.
In any event, this one teacher, actually, she became principal of St. Joseph Convent, but she wasn't at the time. She just come back.
Yeah.
And she was teaching history, and she was that modern history, but it was now it's old history, but in that days it was modern history. And she was talking about the Russian communism and so on. And she was talking about it's a theory. There's the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. In other words, to move to the synthesis, you have to have a period of antithesis, which is a period of disruption. And what is happening in this country is that there's reaching a point where people have had, I believe, have had enough, and he has done enough to destroy the country. And history will not be kind to him. And he may not like me. It's okay, Dr. Rowley. The feeling is mutual. All right, Dr. Rowley. The feeling is mutual. I don't care what you think of me.
Yes, I know. I want to thank you, Karen, and helping us understand, especially the former part of the conversation. You know, I think people who listened will get a better understanding of what is being played out and what is not being said, put into that same matter that is,
don't go down the rabbit hole with sinister. That is like taking down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know. I try to understand myself.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. They're trying to save Faris.
Yes.
I was in politics, and I am telling you, my gut feeling is they're trying to save him because the next step is out. And for some reason, he cannot go out. And with that, adieu, goodbye, to next week.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Goodbye, Ruben, Melissa, all, and Richard.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Power 102 Digital. Streaming 24/7 on power102fm.com and on the Power 102